James Altman, how's it going?
Jason, good
What's
to
one good
see
thing?
you.
What's one good thing?
Yeah, I like that. One good thing. Well, I just met with someone that is going through the graduate degree that I went through, MSLOC at Northwestern, and he's finishing. He's got 3 weeks left, and he is gonna start a business. And we love that. Yeah. So it is cool. He's looking to niche down. He's looking to help organizations mitigate the people problems they encounter after things like mergers or massive changes that they undergo, like an ERP implementation or other kind of large scale systematic technology change. And he's got a whole framework for it. He's got a repeatable process, and he hasn't done any of the work yet, but it could be fun to work with him. So it was great to see what he's doing and to see another business launch.
Love that. My good thing is we get to see each other a couple weeks ago in New Orleans, which was amazing. We went to a clients conference, and we met a lot of amazing people, and we ate a lot of amazing food, and we just got to hang out, which was great, in a very fun place, and take a ferry across the thing and walk along the levee, and it was wonderful. That was always good to get together.
Across the Mississippi, we determined. It was the
Across
Mississippi
the
River.
Mississippi. That's right. And I was just like, it's always a treat to get together. We don't live too far apart, but it's enough hours apart that we don't see each other on a regular basis. So that was amazing. And this thing that we're doing now, it's kind of a new thing. We sort of did a launch episode where it was you and I, but we're going to do these things where we get together once or twice a month. We haven't quite determined that yet. And just talk about the stuff that's interesting that we're seeing in our worlds. Good conversations we're having, interesting stuff that we've read, just kind of our takes on things. And that's what this episode's all about.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, well, we hope so. So one thing to mention that I'll just mention off the top here that was really great that we did, that I'm excited about, that we're going to do more of. We had this AI forum. We had about 45, 50 people show up.
Mm-hmm.
And in that forum, people talked about wins that they've had using AI in their work as learning professionals. We talked about challenges that people face, and there was some opportunity for people to get advice on those challenges from each other. It wasn't me or you leading it. It was just people getting together. And it was really about networking and exchanging information and just like a good professional opportunity. That's a good thing that's happened recently. And then, of course, we launched this podcast, and I've been interviewing people, and we've only released a couple, but so far I've interviewed nine people with a couple more lined up. So I've talked to Stephen Hyde, Rick Mayer, Zach Wagner, Ben Zugay, Jen Briselli, John Thayer, Mariana Ganampini, Andrea Flores, and Tom Driscoll. All amazing conversations. I'm learning a ton, which is exactly why way back when we said, hey, maybe we should do a podcast. This is the reason why, was we both felt like we have to be out there talking to people and learning from people. And so far that box is being checked, which is amazing. Amazing. So I don't know. I think you and I both wrote down a couple things that we wanted to talk about. I have 3 things. You have 2. So I can go first so we can go back and forth. How's that sound?
Sounds great. And we'll see what comes up along the way.
All right, good. So for this first topic, I'm going to climb up onto my soapbox because I'm coming in hot on this one. I have to say, I'm like a little worked up about this.
All right.
So yesterday, I don't even know why exactly I got it, but I got this post on LinkedIn. Post is by Kirsty Olafson, LICSW. And in this post, she talks about something that I've never heard about before. She calls it algorithmic containment, or I guess other people have called it that, and she posted about it. And basically the gist is she is observing that LinkedIn is burying women's posts. That men, when they are posting the same or similar content, are just getting significantly more engagement than women. And that this is something that is baked into the algorithm. That's her claim. And I kind of went down the rabbit hole. I looked at other posts of other women who were citing specific posts that they had. They talked about their follower count. They compared it to similar posts with men. And I have to say, I'm generally a pretty fair-minded person, and I'm usually a kind of, let's wait and see. Maybe that's not really happening. I will tell you, I'm not willing to give big tech companies the benefit of the doubt. at this point. I'm just not. I'm not. I'm going to believe the women over the big tech company.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a disgusting thing that we even have to have these conversations. And the thing that I find very, very frustrating across all of these platforms is that they're just not transparent about these things. And there's really no way for us to know exactly how this is all happening. Had you ever heard of this before? Is this something that you've seen?
No, but what it connects to for me is, I mean, I have to imagine, but I don't know. I don't have any actual data that more and more the algorithm also is machine learning and AI driven, right? And the thing that it points to is how well our systems, AI, ML, but technology in general, gather up and maybe even amplify our biases and our own prejudices and our own kind of societal and human problems. So it's certainly not surprising. And yeah, I don't doubt it for a second that that type of thing is happening for sure. Yeah, it's such a problem.
Infuriating. And, this is not a politics podcast, not a podcast about gender. It's a podcast for learning professionals. And I think you just named a couple of the ways that it's really relevant to us. We're using these tools all the time to serve every kind of person in the world that has every kind of thing that they need to do or learn. And these tools, they have these known biases, and they're very dangerous. Right? The impact that one person's posts on LinkedIn are going to have more reach because of their gender or their race or where they're located has profound impact on their business, on their ability to make a living. And that is messed up. And I think that it's just, for me, a great example of something where if that's true in children's media that's being produced by AI or a chatbot
Yep.
that's used to train workers, right? And it is biased in these ways. It will have these real, significant real world impacts. It's right. It's not just like, oh, it made a mistake, we need to go and check it. It's like, no, there's like money lost here.
Yeah.
There's opportunity lost here.
Opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said if, but unfortunately, it probably seems like more like where and how much across all of those that you mentioned. It's actually an interesting connection to one of the things that I I didn't think that these would have been connected, but when you talk to Brick Mayer, I think in your second episode, he talked about the way that we will be learning, and we've talked about the work that we've done on in various ways, but one of them was online or technology mediated, whatever the terms you might use to say that. And he kind of talks about the next stage of that with this agentic tutor, right? That a browser is not just a browser. In fact, it won't be, right, with Comet and these AI companies coming out with their own browsers where all of that's built in, and Chrome will already has some of those features and will as well, and Edge for sure, all of them. It's already massaging, right, and changing what we see, and now you layer these problems into it, right? The AI mode that people are probably becoming increasingly familiar with from Google is not showing you what the expert wrote on the site. It's showing you what the AI is putting into a blender and spitting out for you. And we don't know what the biases will be from that and how it will impact even our own website, right? Is sucked in and spit out in combination with many other websites to provide what Google thinks is the best answer, what Gemini thinks is the best answer. So now just take Gemini's point of view as the best, probably not the safest thing to do. So absolutely implications for our work.
You mentioned this, the thing that Brick talked about with these agentic browsers. Interesting. I went back and rewatched that clip, and I realized I don't think any of these browsers had been released when we had that conversation. So he knew something at that time.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
mean,
curious, can you kind of unpack that, like what he said, just for anybody
yeah,
who's
no,
not
that's a great
familiar with
idea.
these things? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that he presented it is whatever we're looking at, and in his context, he was talking about the course development that we all are doing in our industry. So if you're looking at a course through one of these potential browsers, and he very much said like the browser of the future without kind of talking about what company or what any kind of specific technology, but that it may have something like he said more of like a panel on the side, and the panel on the side is reading the web page along with you, but it's providing you an opportunity to say like whatever, what do you think about this, or here's another source that's maybe debating some of the things that are in the course, or who knows what it's presenting, right? But it's a partner and a thought partner, and all of that could
Mhm.
be good from a tutorial and kind of guidance and scaffolding. All of those things could be good, but also who knows what else, and also who knows exactly how that's going to work when we're designing these courses. What will the implications be? There'll be some version of this that will operate on, let's call them legacy courses, right? All of the Coursera courses or all the other online courses that are out there, but we have it now upon our shoulders as an industry to figure out, as that technology is changing, what kind of courses will we need to decide? What kind of content and objectives will we need to get to? And he said, who knows, but that'll be fun.
Yeah, he's very optimistic, and we came in with a very pessimistic, and to the same topic with a pessimistic angle, but
Well, yeah, I mean, skeptical, right? I'm
skeptical.
like, yes, we're pissed about that, about the idea that the gendered posts could be probably are being impacted, and that's wrong. So yes, that in and of itself was pessimistic, but then to get us to the point where we're saying, who knows, right? Now all this data is going in and going out. I also met with an author last night. He's in Portugal, and I was meeting with another friend who's an author earlier. They both referenced how you can go to the Atlantic and search for your book because they have listed all of the books that were released as part of the lawsuit, the class action lawsuit for
Whoa.
this is for Anthropic because I think it's being paid out. So you can claim your book basically and say, "Hey,
Wow.
my book was in that list, and I get a payment." And it's small. That was a lot. The total payment was a lot. The small class action payment is not that much. But the point being, what we were saying, right? All this content's being sucked up and analyzed, and then used and represented. And if we start thinking about these biases, like this gendered women's posts being shut down. You said it right. The opportunities that are being impacted.
Right.
Danger.
It's dangerous. So two things coming up for me just as it relates to learning professions. One is in terms of checking all those biases in a rigorous, systematic way. We do not have the kind of thoroughly articulated skill trees for those things in our profession yet. This is a problem because this is happening right now. And we don't even know how to train to do it properly. Certainly, no, that's not to say that some people don't know how to do it. Of course, there definitely are professionals out there that get it and are doing it really well. But I'm going to say the vast majority of us do not have the handbook for that yet. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't really exist. There's no if we're really interested in media theory, we can read dozens of books on media theory, right? If we are really interested in best practices for assessment design, plenty of resources on that. We
Hmm.
just don't have them for so many of these things. And that's really scary when it comes to some of these really risky things that AI is capable of.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And the other thing, to go back to the point about Brick, is the reason that we call what we do at Jackrabbit learning experience design as opposed to instructional design is because it is about the holistic experience, right? It really brings us back to this very fundamental thing. And if we're thinking about the student, not even in the future, the student right now, the learner, sitting down and part of their experience is working with AI as they're working with the course. This is more than a content consideration. It's a holistic experiential consideration in our design process. And that is quite a sharp insight from Brick with you.
Yeah. The other thing, so luckily you're talking to all these smart people, and these smart people will bringing up issues that we'll need to work on. They're also good at bringing up some really great solutions. And I think he talking somewhat in that context, but also kind of more broadly, that the skills of the future within that context will be a much more thorough set of inquiry, of question asking, right? Is this right? Is this the right thing? Is this the right level of application? Is this the right solution? Is this the right perspective? Is this introducing bias? And that those types of skills will be so much more valuable,
Hmm.
which is the transition will be the difficult part, right? The time when maybe there's been a little bit more of a time when the learners don't think that way. They might be thinking, well, Coursera might, or edX or whatever platform kind of put this out, right? The experts were here authoring it, as we know all too well. They were reviewing it once, twice, three times to make sure that it was right, debating with their peers to make sure that it was right. And now a new level of production with AI will be involved, and a new level of inquiry will from the learner side will need to be involved. So it's great. That's a great point. So luckily there are, ways to at least start thinking about how to introduce that, right? These essential questions and other methodologies.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of ties into, these are all, it's totally unplanned, but all of these topics are kind of meshing nicely. And one of the other things that I planned to come in and talk about was the AI sycophancy, but I've been thinking about it a little bit differently. So I think it does this in a number of ways. Like it'll praise you. Like I'll just give it some very simple thing and be like, that's great. It's like, no, it isn't. I'm just, the guy has a very basic, totally rough idea. It's not great. So don't tell me it's great. Like, please stop. So there's that. But then on the other end of the post, a thing that happens often is it'll be like, do you want me to craft this thing next or this thing? And because I'm in the flow, sometimes I say yes, but I don't really need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just you just end up with a volume of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that isn't that useful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the more it is there, it wants to make things. But sometimes the thing that we need in our work is to simplify something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to make the smallest possible thing.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is not good at that. And this sycophancy thing, because it wants to please you, and also I think it also wants to pull you along into the next experience. I was thinking about, so you know this about me. Many people do not know this about me. So I do like video games. My favorite video game is The Last of Us. And I had this very distinct experience playing this game. I got into this one section of the game. You're in this very dark kind of underground. It's like a sewer system, and it's a long sequence. It's quite terrifying. And it was late. I started playing this section, and it's midnight or something. And I, you die. I probably died a dozen times trying to get through it, but I really wanted to get through it. It was harrowing. I got to the other side, and then there's a break. You're outside, and there's this real sense of relief. They design these things on purpose, right? They want to make it hard, and then they want to give you a break. So they give you a break. So I'm enjoying the break, and I'm walking around this beautiful, well-lit area. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a sniper, and you're pinned down, and you have to. So I was like, all right, now I need to get through this next thing. So I get to this, I get to the sniper. And then all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, oh my God, it's 4 a.m. And what happened, it was just the way the game was designed. One part ends, it sucks you into the next part. It's emotional, right? It's emotional, it's attention grabbing. And then as soon as you might start to think, hey, I could put it down now, it sucks you into the next part. This is exactly what AI does when you talk to AI. It wants you to get sucked into the next part.
I have a one up for that. It hasn't even gotten started, right?
Right.
What it's
It's
doing
true.
now, yeah. What it's doing now is saying good job, and would you like me to make a PDF? Would you like me to make a chart? Would you like me to, like you said, generate the next thing? It hasn't, and they haven't gotten started. A, because it's only 2 years, but B, because people are still signing up. Right now, I don't know about you, but now I get shocked. 6 months ago, I got shocked when I said, "Hey, I just met you, professional, colleague. Oh, you do something similar. What are you doing with AI? I'm not doing that. I can't really wrap my head around it. I got enough going on. I don't have time, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, yeah, I get it, but it's going fast, right? And it's going to rewrite everything that we're working on, right? And that, like, if you don't do that, it's going to be even harder later. But right now, it might be easier to stay in front of it. I don't know how many people I convinced, but I do know that right now, when I say that, people that I kind of might expect or prejudge in a terrible human biased way that might not have used it, maybe they're older or maybe don't present as someone that is kind of excited or interested in technology, they're using it. And so if you think about it from that perspective, from the AI company perspective, they're signing up users. And that's, in the end, all they're
Yeah.
going to care about, right?
That's
Signing
true.
them up and keeping them on.
Yes.
So if people are signing up in mass, when that reaches some point of saturation or plateau, they will turn the dial on everything that you just described as much as they can, and will be a time when you will find people having severe mental and physical problems because they
Yeah.
can't put it down, right?
Yeah. It's like when they start monetizing us.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So this is such a good point. I just heard a great interview on, I think it's called Decoder is the name of the podcast with Cory Doctorow. Is that book about enshittification? And that's it. You've just described enshittification. Like, and Google did this, right? You get the good experience, really cater to you in the early days because they need you. But as soon as you're there and you depend on it, they don't have to care about you anymore because you're locked in. And your experience slowly gets worse and worse and worse as they get to harvest all of the things they want from you, but they are giving you less in return. And it happens first to the individual consumer, and then it happens that way at the enterprise level. And then suddenly you have zero innovation and you're trapped into a terrible experience. And so what you've just described is a possible arc for ChatGPT. And I think it's a really good call out.
Yeah, any of them, and they may hopefully. I mean, one of the good things about having multiple companies going at it is that they will have to compete for those things. And I have seen and heard so many more people talking about the pleasant experience and quality product of Claude. Right. So those kinds of things are good. That will be helpful. That there isn't just one. It sounds ridiculous to say at this day and age, but someone was talking about their business and the use of Instagram, which maybe we'll be doing a bit more. And I was like, what is the anti? What's the Pepsi to Coke? To Instagram's Coke? There isn't one, right? There is not a kind of picture-based social media platform. I mean, they're hopefully people that might hear or see this will list 1,000 of them because I'm sure that they are there, but they're not there in the kind of monolithic sense that the world is on that platform,
Do you
right?
think it's distinct from like TikTok, which is quite a bit bigger, right? I think at this point.
Yeah, but video. I mean, the Instagram has right their photo primary. I know they're trying to expand Reels, right, as part of and Stories was what they're doing, but like, um, generally, right, TikTok is short video.
It's all video. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
video first, and of
Right.
course Instagram's trying to compete with it, but like from a yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I hear you.
but also addicting, and that's the word we didn't use in all of this, right? When you talked,
Right.
but like that's actually the reality, and by design, people are their job. It isn't addiction designer, but it may have elements of that.
Yeah, no. And, there are like, the UX community's done such a good job of identifying and naming these things. They call them dark patterns, right? And these are clearly a dark pattern, right? It is a pattern that is not in the interest of the user. It is in the interest of the technology company. And interesting that I haven't really, I just started thinking about this just in the last couple of days as a dark pattern. I thought of it honestly as helpful. I have been thinking of it as helpful. And because sometimes it is helpful. But I think when I realized that it ultimately is not necessarily serving my best purposes, because sometimes they will spend an extra 45 minutes on a task that I didn't need to spend on it because of a suggestion by the AI that I thought was a good idea. Where what I should have done is evaluated the output, gone back to think about my goals, and really made a decision about what the next best step was. Instead, I allowed ChatGPT to make that decision, to make a strong suggestion about what my next direction would be. And I skipped the step where I needed to think about it, and I just did it. And I think that's just the way people are wired, right? It's just a lot of us are going to do that unless we know what's happening and then we're making decisions not to.
Your brain on ChatGPT.
Man.
MIT study. Yeah, another example was that I was trying to elicit the key categories of something from a larger set of data, and it gave its initial. And I said think hard. I kind of I'm working on our prompting, right, and all of the things that and be um, be skeptical. And also provide your confidence level. That was something I learned newly from this course that I'm in. Provide your confidence level on your response. So all of that was good, but I was wondering, simply curiously, about an additional category. So I literally said, "What about this category?" And it did exactly what you said. It said, "Oh wow, that's super sharp. Great point." Right? And then it put it into the what I was asking for was the top 6 out of something that was probably could have been dozens and dozens of things, right? And it put that in and replaced one of the things that it had suggested as the top 6 categories. And I said, I didn't I wasn't correcting you by
Mm,
asking. I was kind of meant to be like, well, where if it's not in the top 6, where would this have other category been? Because
mm.
I kind of thought it would have been in the top 6, but are you telling me it is or isn't, right? Like, was that real analysis, or are you just kind of leading me along by the nose, right?
So the top 6 were like qualities of the output. Is it like it was doing like a rubric to judge its own output? Is that what you mean?
I thought the example would be a little bit boring. So, but I was asking for which job category, which job categories would be relevant to a specific learning, like a program, a climate program intervention that includes learning, right? So the jobs, like what one of the examples in this whole in that whole industry is that when people think of the jobs that will be created, they almost always say installers. It's like a trap.
Mm,
And
mm,
I've learned
mm,
this from the Green Launchpad, the program that I'm in. And there are many other jobs that start way before that, right? A salesperson has to talk to the person, a project manager has to kind of do some assessment. There can even be more assessment specific related jobs well before you get to an installer. So I was trying to do an analysis on which jobs may be most relevant for a specific program. And so I gave it all the data on the program, and then it gave the ones that were most likely. And I said, what about sales? And it said, good
mm,
point, and then put sales in. And I was like, no, I'm trying to get the most, when I said top 6, the jobs that would be most likely to be created from this program, right? The ones that would be the most needed. So it was another example of it kind of leading me along just to make me happy rather than
mm,
actually provide
mhm.
the best result. And I had to course correct, and I could have easily just fallen down the trap of not thinking. I think that's the way you put it, right? I skipped a step. That was thinking.
Thinking, that's the thinking step. Well, one of the things that just from like a learning science point of view that we know is critical is that it's really hard to learn something if there isn't friction in your learning experience. Like you've got to be challenged along the way. You need to be slowed down. And if
Surprised.
these tools are, what's that?
Surprised. I've been thinking a lot about.
Surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if these tools are designed to remove friction
Mm-hmm.
from your experience working with them, even at the expense of quality answers,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
seems like a bad foundation on which to build learning tools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mentioned how we've been working hard on prompts, which anybody doing this should be doing, because if you don't do that, right? Like somebody referred to it the other day to me when I was saying, "Man, we're doing all this prompting stuff," and they're like, "Oh, I actually I get it because I keep talking to it as if it might be a human, right?" And from
Hmm.
that, like a human's natural reply in many cases might be like, okay, right? To your question, if you asked a question in a raw way without kind of a full set of instructions for the prompt, a person might be like, "What do you mean?" That might be their first answer. And when do you get that from any of these tools? When do you get, Jason, what are you talking about?
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
and then you would have to provide it. So therefore, we have to do it as part of the prompt. So that prompt engineering is like, still it's unbelievably important.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. W- Went to, well, you've been to like, I don't know, 300 conferences in the last 30 days. I can't, every time we talk, you're like, oh, I'm headed out the door. I'm going to this other thing.
Yeah.
You've been traveling, going to stuff in
Yeah.
the city.
Well, we went to New Orleans right after that. Right after that, came home, had a weekend, and then I went to upstate New York, Albany. It was a fantastic conference. I was the only thing bad about it was that it was the first time I had been to that conference. And what I mean is, I should have been going to that conference for the last 10 years, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the New York Training Association. So NIATEP is the acronym,
Hmm.
and the New York State Training Association, Training and Employment, and it was fantastic. It was an absolutely great conference. A lot of people doing unbelievable work, mostly in New York, but some really national stuff as well. And the keynote there was blew my mind. I knew about this company, Lightcast, but they're basically the clearinghouse for employment data and kind of forecasting and analysis. So many universities subscribe to Lightcast, whether it's part of their career thing or part of their program planning, right? Because they want to create programs, but so do obviously workforce organizations, training organizations. So Lightcast also sells this data and analysis to the federal government and state governments and local governments. So it's unbelievable resource. It's a partner with many learning programs. And the keynote was from Lightcast, and they were previewing, well, summarizing a report that they put out called The Rising Storm, which is about the US demographic cliff and the impact on workforce. And that the demographic cliff that we've all been talking about, basically baby boomers leaving the workforce, has been coming for a long time. It's been the rising storm, meaning that as they leave the workforce, there will be many implications. And that if we thought this was going to happen, let's say 10 years ago, pre-pandemic, very specifically pre-pandemic, if 10 years ago we were talking about it and reporting on it, we might have said it was going to start happening in 2040 something based on ages, but many factors, big factors in the last several years have accelerated that, meaning it's actually going to be happening in the 2030s. So one was the pandemic. Many baby boomers during the pandemic left the workforce. They had
Left
built
work.
their generational wealth and wanted to, like a lot of us, wanted to be satisfied with their
Yeah.
life, knowing
With
that,
their
the
lives.
pandemic showed us all that it could end for a lot of people quickly. So they left the workforce. Here's another one that's sobering and terrifying because we've all heard about the opioid epidemic, but addiction
My God,
also
really?
removed
Oh,
millions of people
no.
from
My
work,
God.
not baby boomers specifically, but just working people that may
Across
have
the
filled the
workforce.
gaps.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
And then incarceration, right? And addiction can often lead to that, but incarceration in general, if you've ever looked at those charts, the number of people that we've put away in the last several decades, it looks like a stock you'd want to buy chart, right? It looks like something that just like it's almost exponential in terms of the number of people that have
Yeah.
been put away. So all of
Oh my
that
God.
means that this rising storm is actually coming harder and it's coming faster. Um,
And this is not specific to clean tech or clean energy. This is across the economy.
Jobs.
Jobs.
If you boil it down to like one idea, that the US will experience time probably within the next 10 years when there will be no way to fill the jobs to be done.
There will be no way
No way. There will
within
not
the
be enough
next 10
people.
years.
Yeah, in the next 10 years, there'll not be enough people, which means people need to move jobs more and jobs will change more and people will need to learn more. So it's even more important. Everything we've talked about today and on this podcast in general will be more important because people will have to learn quickly, adapt quickly, learn while they're doing, not go through a long training or onboarding or, I mean, even the implications for higher ed are kind of could be staggering as well.
Was
So
there
it's
any was there any conversation about Gen Z? I mean, so this, people who are coming into the workforce now, ironically, are having the problem of not being able to find a job at all. And we also know that AI is impacting the people, younger workers the most because those entry level jobs are being automated or can be done more rapidly because people need to be trained. Was there any conversation about the irony and maybe there's an opportunity somehow that we have a supply, kind of the opposite supply problem on both ends?
yeah. I mean, now I just have to start weighing in with my own opinions,
Do
right?
it. That's our
So
podcast. We do whatever we
yeah,
want.
it's our show. Damn it. So yes, there was a bit of discussion around it, but the simple reality, and I mean, I would say this anecdotally, and we shouldn't say that in a data conversation, but you can support this with plenty of data. There are already many, many, many jobs that are unfilled, right? If you want, especially in outside of urban areas, if you want a caretaker for someone
Mhm.
that is living at home, I mean, I have this anecdotal data from my parents and the care that they needed. People had to drive. We had to hire people that had to drive an hour, maybe more, and we were one of their clients. And that's normal if you're not in kind of a concentrated population or an urban center. So that's already a job. So our Gen Zers applying for at-home care aid positions? No, they're looking for, I don't know what the right word is, but it might be characterized as a better job, which might mean that you don't have to do, the hard, not just physical work of taking care of another person, but the hands-on and emotional work, right?
Yeah.
Doing maybe more like knowledge work. So it's when the Gen Zs are talking about not being able to find a job, and not even just Gen Z, right? Gen X, our peers. I talked to one of our friends this morning, who is because higher ed is laying off lots and lots of people as they're dealing with losing federal funding. Those people are having a hard time finding a job. And in some cases, I've said to some of our friends that are Gen X, and I've said, if you're open to it, I don't know this for certain, but I think you probably could find a job tomorrow as a concierge at a nice hotel because that job is open and they are desperate for someone to fill that job. I know that's not the job you're looking for, but that job is open. So when you said this, the paradox, total paradox. And I think some of the reason that people can wait, I mean, this person that I talked to today, 15 months between jobs, they could do that, right? That means they were able to pay their rent during that time, pay for food during that time.
Hmm.
And that is another aspect of this thing, which is also contributing to the rising storm, is that millennials are accessing the generational wealth that their baby boomer parents have, meaning that they
Mhm.
are able to pay the rent and buy food while not getting the job that needs to be done and waiting longer and maybe being more of a solopreneur. So it actually exacerbates the problem, even though it's not as dire necessarily for that population. So it's fascinating, but not sustainable. Side note, maybe final
Yeah.
note for the particular thing. We're not the first country to do this. Japan has been living through this already.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they are having much more open immigration policies, which is also creating culture war problems there as well, which is fascinating.
No easy solutions here. I know we're coming up to the top of this is just literally happening in no time for somebody who's listening to this, but for us, it's almost 2:00. I have another meeting in a minute. Do you have to leave?
Yeah, I think I do.
You do. All right. I had another topic. I'll save it for next time.
Will, we're going to have so many. This was awesome.
We're going to have a lot of them.
This was much longer than I thought it was going to be anyway. So we should maybe let our listeners go.
Okay. That sounds good. This has been fun. Looking forward to doing this again.
Super fun. Yeah, let's do it again.
All right. See you
All
later.
right. See you. Bye.